Let's have a look through the whole lesson plan for the Paris Hilton lesson. So as an introduction to the lesson, the students are shown a picture of Paris Hilton and asked to elicit ideas. Now the best thing to do here is to give groups or pairs the picture so they're talking together rather than it just being very teacher-student, student-teacher. You actually want the student-student interaction and the students to be communicating amongst themselves. Give them some time to do that. Now, you may have two different types of answers. If the students know who she is, they might say rich, father, hotel, celebrity, famous. If the students maybe don't know who she is, then they might describe her. So from the picture that we've got, they might say blonde, pretty, young, attractive, and so forth. So then we move on to the picture strip, and the picture strip is basically the title in pictures. So give a picture strip to the groups or pairs again. This will depend on how many you've got in your class, and ask them to elicit what the title of the article is. So obviously we've got the Eiffel Tower for Paris, Hilton, the hotel logo, arrest, we've got some handcuffs, 4, we've got number 4, drink, there's a drink, and driving, we've got a car. So they should elicit Paris Hilton arrest for drink driving or something quite similar. This is quite an easy one for them to elicit. So immediately when you say Paris Hilton arrest for drink driving, the students have an indication of what the article is going to talk about, in which direction the lesson is going. So feedback through the different answers for that. Once you've done that, we've got another speaking stage, so lots of student-to-student interaction. Ask them to brainstorm the content of the article and think of 5 key words. So give them time to work together in the group. So this is a good communicative activity, and they may come up with things like drink driving, famous, prison, police, offence. So words related to the title. So you can see we haven't actually done any reading yet, even though this is a reading-based lesson. All of the stages that we've done in the introduction and stage 1 are to prepare the students for reading. So by now they've got a really good idea about what the article is talking about, and they haven't read anything. This is quite important because reading is quite difficult in a foreign language, and you might have students that are reluctant to read. They don't know what's going to be expected of them. They panic that they're not going to understand every word. There's not enough time because they're quite slow at reading. So by doing all these activities, you're creating a safer environment, and by the time you get to the reading stage, they've got a very good idea of what the story is actually about. From then, I would give the questions. Now you need to do some concept checking here. If you just give the article at this stage, they've got no reason for reading, so they'll probably read the first line and the last line, and that's it. You've always got to give your students a purpose for reading. So I've chosen 3 questions. Now, just because they're reading something doesn't mean you need 10 or 20 questions, which is quite laborious and not very interesting. You've got to keep your students engaged and motivated. I read the article before I prepared this lesson, and 3 questions were sufficient for the students to have to read all of the text. So go through the questions. Why did Paris Hilton go to jail? Where did she have a drink? And why is she famous? So focus on key things. Where did she have a drink? If the question says where, what information are we looking for? You'll be amazed how students don't read the question properly, and sometimes it might say where and they give you a person. Why? So we're looking for a reason, and then obviously any key words that you can do some concept checking of. So jail, give me a synonym for jail. So they might say prison. Famous, who is your famous or most famous person in your country? Who's your most famous singer that you like listening to? So just make sure you do some concept checking. So again, they've looked through the questions, they understand the information that you want from them, and then from here, this is when you give them the article to read.